Hey everyone, welcome back to Apollo Art Analysis. In today's episode, we're going to be studying a work by the AI generative artist known as ArtiMecAI, and in today's episode, we are going to be exploring the influences of science fiction and fashion. We're also going to talk a little bit about the format of the portrait, so let's just jump right into it. So whenever you first see this work, met face to face with this lone subject here. It's hard to say who or what this figure is, but your first impression may be one of awe, but of course a curious awe nonetheless. Of course, the format of this work is what we call a portrait, right? It shows the kind of shoulders and the face of the subject, what we refer to as the bust of the lone figure here. And this, of course, places us in direct and intimate proximity with the subject here. You're met face to face, and portraits are also made to kind of show how the figure wants to be remembered and represented. So that's also important to remember as well. And of course, within the work, we also see the two main colors of red and gold here. This is a pretty interesting mix. Personally, that reminds me of, China, if you will, but red and gold are going to be pretty close to each other on the color wheel, right? Gold, of course, being a derivative of orange or yellow. So orange, yellow, red, they're all going to be close to each other on the color wheel. But even then, the color red really does pop out and catch your attention here. Red already is a very high attention color, so that's always important to note. We also see the impact of texture within this work, right? We see this most evidently on our subject's visor and helmet here. Of course, that metallic shine, very rigid. And we also see some examples in kind of the threaded area on the lower region of the composition as well, both of which immerse us so well within the work at hand, right? We also got to ask you guys, what do y'all see when you view this work? Who do you think this is, or how do you feel when you're looking at this composition? Of course, our lone subject is pretty strange, right? It's hard to say whether it's a human or a cyborg or a straight up robot. It's hard to say for sure, but nonetheless, this subject is quite advanced, right? Now let's look at the fashion or the garb of which our subject is wearing. We see what appears to be a very, high-tech helmet here that's also attached to kind of a vest and even some leather work on the bottom as well. This is pretty interesting. Of course, this points to a high status. To create something like this would take a lot of coordination, a lot of resources, and of course, a lot of time as well. So to create something like this would be a true testament to the status of the person who creates it, the society which crafts it, and ultimately the person who gets to wear it as well. Within this work, we also see a symmetrical format, most evidently split across a vertical center axis. This, of course, is not perfect symmetry. We would refer to that as near symmetry. But with any symmetry, you get a sense of order, you get a sense of balance and harmony. I think we're certainly feeling that within the work at hand. And with the color gold, for me personally, that reminds of the life force or the sacred, if you will. For many millennia, of course, gold has been used to represent the sacred spirit of our sun, divinity, and anything sacred, right? So that is incredibly important to remember. When you use something like gold or even, something that shines like silver, it is going to be drawing attention and even pointing to perhaps a sense of the sacred as well. I think that's pretty interesting here. But at the end of the day, we just got to ask ourselves, what have we done here? Is this a cyborg? Is this a person wearing the most advanced fashion? It's hard to say for sure, but regardless, I extend the question off to y'all. What do y'all see when you view this work, or what comes to mind when you're looking at this piece? This piece is actually part of a little bit broader series here, exploring these kind of medieval designs, but also taking that in a very new age area, right? Work like this may read quite reminiscent of Daft Punk. I certainly felt that when I was looking at this work, but it's important to remember that, this is an AI generative work, so is at the end of the day, a piece of conceptual design. This could certainly be implemented and created. Of course, it would take a little bit more things like digital render to really take that and create something that could be replicated and of course manufactured, but actually have some additional pieces from the broader series here. I'm going to bring that in real quick and see what we can learn. Alright, so I got two additional works here, both from the original artist ArtiMecAI, and both are part of the same series that this piece was presented in as well. What's important to note here are in all three instances, we do have the portrait here. That's also quite important to remember. In all three instances, it's very advanced, right? That sense of the sci-fi mixing into fashion, I find that absolutely fascinating, especially the two works on the right. We have that visor, especially on the right work, but in the central work that we studied today, there is an absence there, which still creates a visor with that negative space, right? But of course, in all three works, there is that, almost industrial nature, but that industrial science fiction, and I absolutely love to see it here. I just want to bring in two additional works to really study and compare it to the original work that we're looking at today. Once again, this is an amazing example of conceptual fashion, whether that's digital render or the medium before us today, known as the AI generative medium. And I also wanted to briefly mention the original artist has a ton of AI generative fashion concept on their portfolio. So this, for example, does remind me of kind of an industrial or militarized Gothic, if you will. I absolutely love it. But I just want to point this here, there is a diverse range on this artist portfolio, and of course, an even more diverse range in the broader realm of AI generative fashion, and of course, conceptual digital fashion writ large. So I just want to bring that in real quick and point to the original artist's diverse range of styles here. So what's really important to remember here is the idea of conceptual design in the world of fashion, really anything writ large, right? You could apply this to architecture as well, but the medium here used, of course, AI generative art. I believe it was Midjourney, not 100% sure there, but at the very least, this was created using an AI generative art program. But the ability to create so many different iterations so quickly, that certainly is going to lead a new level of evolution in the world of conceptual design, in the world of art writ large. I think that's so important to remember here. There are a lot of people that are cynical about the medium of AI generative art, and there are a lot of different reasons for that. Some don't think it's art at all. Others think that's, you're stealing by training different models on other people's work. But at the end of the day, it is important to recognize that the AI generative medium is leading a whole new revolution when it comes to the evolution of conceptual design across so many different genres, so many different mediums, and they're all converging in so many different ways. But yeah, that's really all I have for today. Really hope y'all enjoyed. We talked about so many different things, from the format of the portrait. We talked about the sense of texture, the sense of color. We talked about the subject who could be a human or all the way to a cyborg. We talked about this reading reminiscent of Daft Punk. We talked about the color gold. We talked about symmetry. We also talked about the influences of science fiction and fashion, as well as these, brilliant digital mediums that certainly are leading a revolution in conceptual fashion design. But at the end of the day, I asked the question to y'all, what do y'all see when you view this work, or what comes to mind when you're looking at this piece? If y'all enjoyed today, go check out the original artist ArtiMecAI, doing some amazing stuff in the world of the AI generative medium. My name's Apollo, this was Apollo Art Analysis, and I'll see y'all on the next episode. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you'd like to support our work directly, please check out our Apollo community tokens. Apollo Art Exchange is an ecosystem of art appreciation which elevates artists each and every day. Thanks for listening.